Hey, welcome back. I'm going to talk about Prohibition in America. Prohibition was a time period of roughly 13 years in the beginning of the 20th century when, in the United States, the sale, production, or importation of alcohol was outlawed. Now, why is this relevant to Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, you're going to find out. In 1930, J.F. Rutherford produced the booklet Prohibition and the League of Nations, From God or From the Devil. Now, before I continue, I just want to say in one of my other videos, I refer to J.F. Rutherford having written the book Your Will Be Done on Earth. I made a mistake on that. That book was written anonymously, not by Rutherford, so I apologize for that. But it was published by the organization, so the argument still stands. Now, in this 1930 booklet by J.F. Rutherford, his goal is to convince his readers that the law of prohibition in the United States is a grand conspiracy involving Satan the devil, the clergy of Christendom, and the League of Nations. He says that the clergy in America was largely supportive of this law, and he says, the clergy expect people to believe their statement because they claim that no one else can teach the scriptures aside from them. Whoa, these arrogant clergy. How dare they presume to be the only ones that can understand the scripture? Can you think of another organization that makes that claim today? I can. So Rutherford tells us that we have a choice. And by means of a condescending cartoon, he says that we have a choice between the League of Nations and these arrogant clergymen, or having a nice drink of wine. So what's Joe's deal here? I mean, what's his problem? What does he think the issue is? Well, he says excessive eating of food doubtless has killed more people than excessive drink. Doubtless, Joe. Doubtless. Okay, but he has bigger fish to fry. He says, Satan and his ministers appear as reformers and messengers of light to deceive the people. I have no hesitancy, therefore, in saying that prohibition in America is a scheme of Satan the devil, the purpose of which is to alienate the people from Jehovah God. Wow. Joe, you're making a big leap there. Do you think perhaps you just might be reaching a tad when you're saying these things? I mean, isn't trying to make the world a better place and trying to reform it a good thing? No? But one may ask, is it not now the duty of a Christian to try to reform the world and make it better? The scriptures answer no, because such is an impossibility. Well, Joe, I think in the last 90 years, we've actually made quite a lot of progress. But then again, what do I know? I'm not God's channel of communication. So can you explain to us, Joe, why is it impossible to reform the world? Satan's purpose is to draw all Christendom into the league and turn people away from Jehovah, preparatory to Armageddon. Oh, right. Okay. So nations join the League of Nations, and this is all some scheme to prevent people from becoming Jehovah's Witnesses. Sure. Again, speaking about the League of Nations, Rutherford says this: responsible men and women conclude that if this organization belongs to God, then he must be a very weak and powerless God. Right. I wonder what responsible men and women would say of an organization that fails to protect children from pedophiles, fails to reform itself in the light of public scrutiny, that inflicts perpetual psychological abuse on people who refuse to obey the diktats of their religious leaders. What would responsible men and women say about an organization like that, Joe? Okay, moving on, he continues, the statesmen of the world say, we will establish lasting peace. The financial powers say, we will outlaw war and bring in peace. The clergy of the world say, it is for the church to establish lasting and righteous peace. Altogether they say, We will make the earth a fit place for man and make it safe for him. At the same time, the oppression, sorrow, and suffering of the people increase. Even the declaration by the rulers concerning peace and safety is presumptuous in the sight of God. In 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 3 it is written, "When they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come upon them as a woman in travail, and they shall not escape." Whoa, Joe, this trash has not aged well, has it? Your prophecy about the League of Nations and Prohibition being some grand conspiracy to turn people away from Jehovah's Witnesses is just not just wrong, it's stupid. You then tell us that 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 3 is in effect because everyone's talking about peace in the world, so therefore Armageddon must be imminent. You're wrong again. If people in the world in general actually listened to Jehovah's Witnesses in 1930, we'd still be living in 1930. Today, people live longer lives, healthier lives, they're better educated, the world is more peaceful. By almost any single metric you gauge human well-being and welfare, the world has improved. So you know what? Reforming the world is not just possible, it's a great idea. And maybe it's time Jehovah's organization learned that lesson and maybe even applied it to their own organization. And Joe, your cynicism and self-righteousness probably laid the foundation for the narcissistic attitudes that are currently pervasive in the leadership of Jehovah's Witnesses. In the book Apocalypse Delayed, which I apologize I don't have the reference for because I had to discard that book some years back, but in this book, which I highly recommend, you will learn that J.F. Rutherford was actually an alcoholic and that he broke US law by importing alcohol from Canada to the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses in New York. So instead of the law of prohibition being some crazy scheme of the devil in cahoots with the League of Nations and the Clergy of Christendom, this book is just some alcoholic bully mouthing off and whining that he does not have the ability to booze as freely as he used to. And this is something worth remembering every time you hear the governing body speak. What they're saying is probably coming from some deeper inner motivation or desire that's not going to help you, but will be in their best interest. So that's just something I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching and see you next time.